Hello, and welcome to Between the Lessons. I'm Susan.
And I'm Kavan.
And today we are talking about grief. And this is not an easy topic. It is an emotional topic, but it is inevitable. It is inescapable, especially at midlife. And we all know that grief is associated with when we lose someone that we deeply care about, that we love. But there are other ways to experience grief as well. It can be the loss of a relationship, the loss of a friendship, the loss of a job that's really important and meaningful to you, the loss of community, and then the loss of a pet as well. So, there's so many areas in our lives where grief can come. But for you, what comes up when you think about grief or when you hear grief or how have you experienced grief?
I think certainly up until this point in my life, I, along with many others, may associate grief with sadness, opposite of joy, a whole lot of feels, and especially through the experiences that you talked about. There's so many different formats, but the one that often, that rises or brings about grief the most is a loss of a human being, a loved one, or even a pet. I've lost, unfortunately, several pets who I've associated as like family members.
Yeah.
And now, though, for me, I feel like grief has certainly taught me a lot. And I see grief more as part of growth, of my growth. Part of building resilience through some very difficult experiences.
Through loss.
Both professionally and personally. I think especially through my career in working in schools and in education, I've seen so many different forms of grief. Ranging from a child that has having a difficult time with a friendship, a loss of a friendship, navigating through that,
helping them get through that.
Grief on not doing as well as on a test or a project, right? Or a loss of a basketball game, things like that. To at a larger scale, helping a community through a national tragedy, a school shooting, or even just, a loss in the community. We a loss of a teacher, a possible loss of a student.
Yeah.
So those are all things that as a leader of a school, as an educator, I've helped others navigate through those feelings, through those emotions. And in doing so, I've gained a lot of insight on myself, on how I handle grief.
Can you just give us a couple of ways that you did lead the community through grief? Because I think in my experience with grief, I think that culturally and societally, it's not something that we sort of all know how to approach. And I think when it comes, it's so unexpected and shocking, and we have these feelings that we've never had before, and we don't even know how to navigate. So what are some of the ways that you've helped your community navigate grief or move through it and to come out on the other side?
I'm actually glad that you mentioned the word culturally, because for me, being in my household, in my family, things weren't talked about, even during a loss of something.
Yep.
Right? It was very much, and I'm not saying this is like for every Asian family, but for particularly my family, it was more about, the pull yourself up from your bootstraps thing. Like, we're going to get through this. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to get through this. And I'm sure there are some Eastern European families that may associate with that as well. But
that's like old school mentality. You're going to have to kill me to kill me. We are going to get through every single thing.
Right. But we didn't talk about it if there was death. So when I entered becoming an educator and things were happening, I didn't have the skill set to handle it. So, and still now, even as a leader, I can't say that I have all the answers.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I think I need to be, especially as a leader, be vulnerable and say, where can I get help? You know, I am not the mental health professional. You know, I am not going to say these are the things that we need to do exactly because everyone handles loss or grief the same.
Right. Everyone handles it.
Everyone
differently.
handles it differently.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think, like I mentioned in the last episode, like one of the very first things that, you know, I encountered as a teacher was Columbine and then 9/11. And, you know, just experiencing that as an educator with students and then having the guidance of my leaders then has helped me evolve into the type of leader, how we handle things today. But, you know, like most mental health professionals will say for specifically for children and, you know, even adults in a school community is routine. You know, the most important thing is to get back into routine, right? But as a leader, and as I've grown as a leader, coming even within my own culture, I've learned to create space to have conversations for people who want to talk about the loss, about the change. And that has been very influential and important to me to help move through A, B, and C crisis that comes forward.
And I could see both ways are really important because it's like we had just said that everyone experiences grief differently. And when loss happens in a community, right, there's going to be different responses, different connections to it. So I think for some who just need to, like, you know, just go about their routine and go about their day and just feel the security and safety of that, I'm sure, you know, it's great for them to have that. But for others who, you know, need the space to talk about it, who need to connect with others and, you know, be in that space to mourn, to grieve, to, you know, whatever it may be, I think in any community, like, it's super important to provide that space for sure.
I will add, though, that probably the hardest thing that I've had to endure or think about as a leader moving a community through grief is that sometimes you can't or you don't have all the answers. Right? So there's a void of information. Right? And when there's a loss, particularly for like a community member, the community wants to rally and heal or support and then heal, and they want information to help them heal.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't give them that information because of privacy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Whether, you know, whatever the case, whatever the situation,
Right.
there's going to be voids of information due to privacy.
Yeah.
And that causes a whole bunch of other feels that people aren't able to move forward. To move the community forward to heal, and that has been really hard. That's probably the hardest thing that I've ever, you know, had to work through as a leader. Even 9/11, like you wanted answers. Who did it?
Right.
Right? And kids would ask, like, and then all the conspiracy theories, all these people like we think could have happened,
Right.
and you have to control. So like the most important thing is not only the routine, but if you are creating space, stick to the facts. Stick to the facts, stick to what you know and how to process only the facts.
That makes sense. Yeah. You don't want to make an already delicate situation in any way worse, for sure. And what about personally? How have you navigated grief?
I think, like what I said, like stick to the facts. Like, you know, I can only control what I can control, right? And sometimes I start, you know, like I do this with everything, whether it's, you know, during a relationship, or then all of a sudden, you know, the other person may say, you know, this is not for me. I'm like, I'm out. And I'm like, wait, what happened there?
What?
Right. And then like, I start creating my own narrative of what happened and what went wrong. And I get really, you know, like go through the 5 stages of grief, right? Like you're like, wait,
Denial,
no. Yeah.
anger.
Yeah.
bargaining, depression, and then finally
Right.
liberation. It's
Yeah,
acceptance.
acceptance. So it's like, like I said before, like for me, it has been a journey of learning about myself and how I handle situations. And then when I have these moments of loss, what did I learn? How can I grow moving forward? I think me personally, the biggest loss in my life thus far, outside of losing my dad a few years ago, but the thing that's probably changed me the most as an individual was the loss of my marriage and my immediate family. And I have done a lot of processing and growing from that point.
What do you remember what that felt like initially? Like, what was that initial feeling? Was it just shock? Was it just, I mean, I imagine it felt something like the rug was just taken out from under you. The loss of family sounds to me like so significant. Like, I don't know there are very few things I can imagine are more meaningful than that. So the loss of that it had to be so incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think when our marriage ended, it ended abruptly because, I mean, the love was not there anymore. I mean, I'm not going to give you all the details, but generally, the love was not there anymore. We were going through the motions, and my partner, my ex-wife, ended it. And I give her a lot of credit. And maybe one day I'll thank her. But she had the courage to say that this marriage is no longer working. We're no longer in love. We had known each other for over 20 some odd years. I mean, I give her credit. She was the one that said, I'm leaving. For me, that was a shock then because I was comfortable going through the motions. And then when the family dynamic changed, it was the loss of being comfortable.
Comfort, yeah.
Like knowing what to expect.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the comfort was healthy at all.
No, I know. Yeah.
I'm just saying that it was just this sudden change of being comfortable.
Yeah. And we all want to be comfortable, right? I mean, that's what we're all seeking, just something that is predictable, that is safe, that is just kind of going to hold you as a warm blanket that you can rely on.
And because it's certain. And yeah, so I think to answer your question was the uncertainty. I didn't know what was in the future. I didn't even know myself anymore. Right. So that grief certainly kicked in because of that.
It felt like a loss.
Oh, yeah. So I said the loss of my family, the immediate family, but also like, who am I now?
Can you, what do you mean by that? You just felt like you had known yourself in this way as a husband, as the head of this household.
I wouldn't say I was the head of the household.
Well, okay, we could say maybe like in quotes, but like, this is sort of the unit. This is, what you wake up to every day. This is what you come home to every day. This is your family and how you understand it. And this is your role. And it became it's your identity. And when that was taken from you, so you were really at a loss as to who you were.
I was at a loss. Yeah, there was many levels of that. Certainly like the loss of the routine of our family, the dynamics between my daughter and her mother and me. But like the root of our divorce was there was a lack of love.
Okay.
Right. So there was no love to be given. There was no love to be received. And I think some people may even define that as grief. Right. But I didn't even love myself. I was just going through the motions. I was allowed to be this being. I mean, like, I know that my ex left because she was not in love with me or the person I was at that point in time. We were totally different people after 20 some odd years. We met each other when we were so young.
Right.
We've evolved in different ways. Right. So like, I was allowed to be this. I was basically going through the motions and not growing as a human, not really having any identity besides my job or being my daughter's, father. But I wasn't a husband. Right. And, I think for someone like apart, yes, I was grieving that I lost my family, but I was grieving as in like the loss of me. Wow. Of that point in time.
It was so stark. You felt that.
Yeah.
Like this like a very significant.
Yeah.
So how did you come out of that? Like, how did you find your way through that? You lost your family. You lost who you were or who you thought you were. And, I imagine like you're like now literally picking yourself up off the floor. What did you do and how did you do that?
I mean, it's been time. I mean, therapy just certainly helped. I was not in therapy up until that point in my life.
Right. You'd never been in therapy before?
I mean, I had been in like here and there, tried it out, didn't work, tried to be the person that outsmarted the therapist all the time, because I was in denial that I needed it. Been in couples therapy, didn't really want to be there. Kind of following what I had done professionally, like I needed to create space for myself to process, to reflect.
Yeah.
Right.
And you knew that you needed to do that if you were going to get through this.
Well, I also needed to be like open with myself and vulnerable and say, I need help. Like I was not in a state of mind up until that point in my life that I could receive help. And I was in denial that I needed it. I didn't go after it. I didn't want to go do the work for myself.
But why? Because you could have just been like, honestly, like, F that B, it's all her. You could have just totally blamed her and been like, it's her fault. And I work every day. I come home every day. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why did you decide to do work on yourself? You could have gone a couple of different routes. Why did you know that you needed to go this route?
Because I wanted to love myself.
It was so clear to you that you didn't.
I did not love myself. I did not like who the person I was at that point in time. I think I said in a previous episode, I didn't want to turn 40. I didn't like it because I didn't like who I was. I didn't like my life. Right. It was like a point where this is the low of lows for me right now. And I had to be better. I mean, I had my kid. I mean, she took off, for various reasons. I'm not, and she needed to have a break for herself to be, to kind of separate to be her best self. And it was just my kid and I for a little while. And I needed to be better for her. I needed, she just had her whole entire life ripped apart and it was not her fault.
Right.
How about you? I've been in the hot seat for about 15 minutes.
Well, I just, I think that is really important to talk about today, just about the loss of a relationship, about the loss of a marriage, and to grieve that. As you said, it was a really significant time. And I mean, it's great that you got through it and I'm
still working on it. I'm not,
right.
It's been what? 5-6 years. But
the road that you took was, I think, a road that it seems to be going well for you. And I think like that's great. Because I do think you can go a few different ways. And that is actually something I've learned about grief. Because I think I've mostly known grief just through death. Through losing people that I care about, that are, just very much a part of my life. And since I was young, there have been people who've passed in my life. I remember being like 10, 11 years old. And one of my older sister's good friends took her own life. So I remember that being like my first hearing about it. And I saw just the effect that it had on my older sister. And I remember also how my mother couldn't console her. Looking back on it, I think because she just didn't know how do you console a 15, 16-year-old girl whose good friend just took her life, right? And so I saw like just the pain it could bring, the confusion around it, certainly the uncertainty, and how deeply it affects us. And then, I remember when I was graduating high school, my mom's best friend's son, who was also my age, we were both seniors in high school. He died. He got meningitis and he died suddenly. He was already got accepted into college, so it was just about finishing senior year. And I remember being so shocked. We had grown up with them, spent a lot of holidays together, very much a part of my childhood. And I remember being like, I cannot go to the funeral because that is crazy to me that he is gone and we're the same age. Like, it was really just unfathomable to me. And then, I lost my father when I was honestly shortly after that. And what I saw from that was, I remember my mom just being I'd never heard my mom cry before. And then, and then I was like listening to her cry for like, just listening to her cry every night for weeks. All these years later, it was so shocking for her. That's really what I remember about my father's death, because I didn't, him and I had a very distant relationship, but I remember the toll it took on my mom. It was really sad and, really shocking for her. It really upended her life, and now she was responsible for 3 kids. We were a little bit older. My older sister was in her 20s, and I was graduating. I graduated from high school just that spring. But it was a hard time, and it was a hard time for a while. But there have been other instances, other losses as well. But the one that really, of course, has rocked my world is the loss of my sister about 5 years ago. Just to connect back how you've changed since the loss of your marriage was that, because I think you made something good. You were able to turn something that could have been really negative into something really positive for you. I think you learned something, you realized something, and you've grown from it. And losing my younger sister has been, the most difficult thing I've ever gone through. Excuse me. But I do think that because it's, of course, loss, and there's profound sadness. And with that, I had like guilt also. And I just knew I had to do something, like that this was going to completely overwhelm my life if I didn't in some way like grow in a certain way, So I remember at one point just thinking, gosh, there's just so much to say, but my sister and I, very close. I always feel like she is, I've always felt like, in a sense, we were the same person, just opposite sides of the same coin. But when she passed, we were like in a really difficult and complicated place. And there was just a lot of stuff from growing up in our family. So there's just been a lot of anger in my family. And I knew after she passed that I would not allow myself to ever be angry at someone like that again. I just would not let anger, determine anything ever again. And I think that in itself has been such an incredible gift, so Yeah. I need to take a breath.
No, that was Susan. That was beautiful. And no, even when we were planning on topics to talk about, we talked. We wondered if about this one in particular, with all that has been happening more recently in our family and in what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And I think that both of us coming from backgrounds that did not have open communication about things, and to see us now at 50 years old with a microphone in front of us, sharing our growth, sharing our story, but then this is part of that. Like, we talked about creating space, and what got me through it, the losses I've had in my more recent, years, has been having these moments with a good friend, and being open about how we feel.
Yeah, I think that is, yes, I want to like underline that and highlight it and put a couple of exclamation marks after that. Being an English teacher, that's sometimes how I think, because it does open up something inside of you. When you lose something that means so much to you, that you take advantage that it's there, that you love, even if you weren't in love with your wife at that time, right? You loved like the idea of family.
Absolutely.
I certainly love my sister. So when you lose that, it breaks you open. And I think it's like, what do you do with yourself when you're broken open? And I could see like becoming really hardened, closed off. I totally understand that, right? Angry at the world, maybe God, whatever it may be, for taking this thing away from you, this person away from you, your family, the relationship, the marriage away, because it's so out of your control. And once it's over, once that person has passed, that's it. You have no say. And the finality of that is really hard to deal with, because like I would just love to maybe like one phone call, a hug, just give me something small, but you can't get that. You can't get any of that back. And so like, what do you do with this incredible heartbreak? And you're just wide open. And I think if you can try and pick yourself up, it's like you said, there's probably something to learn, something to grow from.
It's that transfer of of love. Like, where can you send that energy to? If you're unable to send that love to your sister, and I'm unable to send my love to my father, or I'm unable to send my love to my family, like my immediate family at the time, where do you then transfer that energy?
I mean, for me, when my sister passed, I had such incredible guilt. I still have a lot of guilt. So, because it's ongoing too, there's no ever end date about any of this stuff. And I don't know if there's an end date on grief, Yeah, maybe not. It just moves, and maybe it transforms, becomes some other experience.
They say it gets easier with time.
Yeah,
But I think that's just a saying.
Yeah.
I think if you don't do anything, right, it's wasted. It's wasted.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you talked about. It's hard. People get hardened.
Right. Because it's an energy of love. Yeah. I knew. So yeah. So what I was saying was like, because I had such incredible guilt about her passing, and I knew. This is going to sound pretty dramatic, but I knew that if I did not forgive myself, that I would have to. That in a way, I just felt like my life was over. Like, how would I live with such incredible guilt? And she wasn't here. It was like too much to carry. And so I knew I had to forgive myself, which meant that I had to really learn how to love myself. I had absolutely no choice. And so, that journey began, and literally you're like crawling on the floor in the beginning, but you you just keep taking it step by step. And I think that was a very important decision. It's interesting that we both came back to that same place about loving yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is very interesting.
Yeah. And that makes you motivated to transform.
Yeah. How can you not? Like, how can you not? If you didn't love yourself before, and then now you're on a journey to love yourself, right? How can you not transform? Your life just becomes so different.
Like you mentioned before, that you took for granted for things when your sister was alive, and I took for granted for things when I was married, right? But I was stuck in neutral, right? I mean, and now that I've been, moving forward, I don't take anything for granted anymore. And I appreciate everything. Everything, the highs and the lows. Like, so, yeah, like I've said it before, like I have learned to reflect. I have learned to appreciate, and I have now learned to take whatever that the universe brings me and make lemonade. Right?
Right. There's always a learning there.
Yeah,
There's something
you have
of value.
to.
There's something of value that you
Right.
can
So
take
like
away.
after a while, after the loss of my relationship for over 20 years, the loss of my family dynamic at the time, I had to basically, like you said, love myself. Like I had to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
And, how did I look professionally? How did I look personally? How did I look as a father, as a brother, as a son? And then, I started building that confidence, and I started, really exploring and being like accepting of what I want, of who I am and what I like and what I don't like. It was my daughter, the one that said, "Hey, Dad, you got to get yourself out there and start dating again."
Oh, wow.
She said it in a much more like, middle school way,
Right.
with slang words, and like, Dad, you're a hottie, you're a baddie. I'm like, oh, great, thanks. Now I'm really feeling embarrassed. But she's the one who actually gave. I got a lot of courage from her. I've grown a lot from my relationship with my daughter. I owe a lot to her. But as I was dating other people, I was figuring it out too. I mean, there was if you want to say loss, yeah, there was a lot of failed relationships, and I kept falling back to like, then what's wrong with me?
Oh, you're right.
Right? At first, and I'm like, I got to stop this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nothing. I mean, could I improve on certain behaviors and patterns of attachment, or how I speak to someone, or how I show my love? Right? Yes. But there's nothing wrong with me.
Right. Right.
I'm not broken.
Right. Fundamentally.
Right.
Right.
And that person is just not the right fit
Right.
or match.
Yeah.
We don't love the same.
Yeah.
So that has taken time, over the course of the last years of my relationship building.
It is a journey. When they say it's a journey, it's definitely a journey. It's never a one fix it all. It's not like one decision solves it all. It's not like one moment everything changes. It is just an ongoing, you just keep going and moving and learning and feeling and it's continued growth. And I mean,
it's the longest rom-com I've ever watched.
it should be. We should. That's gonna be the next project. The rom-com, Kavan's rom-com. I could see that.
Well, it's not just about like me dating others. It's like I'm calling a rom-com about like loving myself too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like really struck by that how grief is a journey that is connected to and aligned with self-love. I think that's really kind of unexpected. But I think everything probably does start and end with yourself. Mm-hmm. Every experience, every relationship, it does, because it's all about, right? My life is ultimately like about me. I look to experience it with others and be in relationship with others. But all of those experiences and relationships, is ultimately through me. So, but yeah, I still miss my sister a lot, but I'm so, I'm just so grateful that,
Who would have thought that grief can help you be grateful?
Yeah. Huh? Yeah, that's true. Because I wasn't as grateful, right before she passed. Mm-hmm. Again, we were just going through a hard time. So yeah, absolutely. It definitely has brought a lot of gratitude for her.
Well, I am grateful that we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
I am grateful for learning more about you today.
Thank
and, watching you have the courage to share your story today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Same.
And thank everyone else out there for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.